I've got a lot of movie memories, but as much as I love all of them, there's just nothing quite like that first time you watched a really special movie. You know the kind I'm talking about, the kind that comes out of the blue and completely blows you away? Well, The Princess Bride was one of those for me. And here's my story. When I was little, my parents used to rent videos from the grocery store, and my brothers and I would meticulously hunt for what movie we wanted to rent that week. But this one time, our mom got the final say. She wanted to rent this movie called The Princess Bride? Yuck! It's a girl movie! I don't want to watch a girl movie!
Okay, fine. I may have to watch it, but I don't have to like it!
But the amazing thing is, it turned out to be one of the best movies I'd ever seen. Sure, I was only 6 at the time, but even then, I knew I had just seen something really special. Something that I knew I was gonna go back to again and again and again. But what makes The Princess Bride so special? Let's find out. Play it, Sam! Again! So the movie starts out not how you would think, but exactly how it should. We hear the sounds of Take Me Out to the Ball Game, albeit an Atari rendition. It's just an old-fashioned way of saying, hey, we're gonna have some fun. The movie is framed in a pretty clever way, too. Little Fred Savage plays the boy, and Peter Falk plays his grandfather. The grandson is sick, so the grandfather comes over to read him a story. And the story is The Princess Bride. Hey, that's the movie we're watching! Oh my God! It's like the movie's way of saying, sit back, forget about life for a while, and I'm gonna tell you a story. And the way that the grandfather phrases it, that The Princess Bride is a story that's been passed down from generation to generation, from his father's father, sets us up for something timeless. The grandfather tells him that The Princess Bride is a story that has everything. Fencing, fighting, torture. Torture? I know that's in the movie, but should that really be a selling point, Peter Falk? Anyway, revenge, giants, monsters, chases, escapes, true love, miracles.
I'll try and stay awake.
It's like he's saying, although this isn't something you've heard before, it's also every story ever told, all rolled into one. Brilliant, Peter Falk. Then we get magically whisked away to a farm somewhere. It's idyllic, but most fantasy films I've found start off somewhere quaint, but beautiful. But speaking of idyllic, holy crap, these people are good looking. It's like they were made in a genetics lab. Whoa, did you see that? You know you're a good-looking dude when you barely need to say anything at all. Good for you, Westley. When, on the other hand, guys like me do things like write poetry, bad poetry. But anyway, things are perfect, and they're in love, which, since this is just the beginning of the movie, pretty much guarantees that something bad is about to happen. But I'm getting way ahead of myself, because it's at this moment that Fred Savage gets all offended with all the kissing that's going on.
Is this a kissing book?
Of course, I was just like him when my parents started the movie. But before I knew it, I was totally sucked in. I think on that first watch, what really started to pull me in was the introduction of these 3 characters, because they made me laugh. It's like the movie was suddenly giving me permission to have fun. Now they all have their funny lines, but especially it was Vizzini, played by legendary character actor Wallace Shawn. The way he delivers his lines is so funny.
And you! Inconceivable! I'm waiting!
6-year-old me was like,
Okay, Mom, you were right. So far, this is pretty good.
The movie quickly draws you in to the world and to the characters, and before you know it, you like these people. I couldn't wait to find out what was gonna happen. I just had to know. The sword fight between Westley and Inigo is pretty good. Classic Hollywood fencing. I love the way they both switch hands from left to right, and how the movie syncs to the actions of the characters. It's like the movie knows it's a movie, and it's just playing with us. But I really like the moment just before all that, when Inigo pulls Westley up from the cliffs. Westley begins to draw his sword, but Inigo says, no, no, no.
Wait until you're ready.
It's a tiny moment, but I really like it. It's like there's this code amongst gentlemen. First we chat, then I kill you. You know, this is a little embarrassing, but when I was a kid, I don't think I realized that the man in black was Westley. Of course, looking at it now, it's completely obvious it's the same guy, because I do remember being really surprised a few scenes later when Buttercup pushes him down that incredibly steep hill, and then he shouts out that famous line, "As you wish."
As you wish.
Wait, did he just say "as you wish"? That's what Westley said! That's Westley! Buttercup, what have you done?
What have I done?
You know, looking back on all this now, I think the love between Buttercup and Westley is maybe more an invention of our minds. Collectively, we sort of fill in the gaps because we never really saw them fall in love. Sure, we see them exchange a few glances here and there, along with the narration. Now, this is a movie romance, so I get that it has to be condensed, and it is. But that's an incredibly difficult thing to pull off and to convince the audience at the same time that these two people are really in love with each other. But this movie does it seemingly effortlessly. And I think a lot of that comes from the writing and the directing, but mostly it comes from Robin Wright and Cary Elwes. They just have fantastic on-screen chemistry. They look and interact just like lovers. Isn't movie chemistry just amazing? It's like this really complicated math equation that somehow equals out, but you can't figure out how exactly. But regardless, this story isn't so much about finding great love as much as it is about saving that great love. So the stakes are high, which frames our man Westley, the archetypal lone hero, brave, mysterious, virtuous, and then Buttercup, the woman in distress. She pretty much epitomizes passionate love. Now, as a kid, there was no way I could be aware of such archetypes and nuances, but I think as human beings, we interpret such elemental things subconsciously. After all, this is a type of story that's been told before. It's more or less woven into our DNA at this point. It's fantastically exciting and fun, but it also teaches us and reminds us of what we value in life. And it's all punctuated in the movie by these two performances. I feel like these two actors were just born to play these characters. And don't you ever wonder with movie couples if maybe there was something going on behind the scenes? You see all this passion burning up the screen, you figure it's gotta come from somewhere. So at this point in the movie, Buttercup and Westley have reunited, but they're not safe. After all, we're only like 30 minutes into this thing. The adventure has just begun. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention, her fiance, Prince Humperdinck, is on their trail. Prince Humperdinck? More like Detective Humperdinck? This guy is like Sherlock Holmes.
Hi, O'Kane. I'd bet my life on it. And there are the princess's footprints.
He's got a superpower, and it's deduction. Maybe he should just quit the whole prince thing and start his own detective agency. He could call it Hump and Company, premiering this fall. By the way, what's with his name? Humperdinck? It sounds so aggressively annoying, but maybe that was the point. But to tell you the truth, I don't really mind him that much. As far as bad guys go, he's not that bad. He just kind of comes off as a snobby royal. Although he does say outright that he plans on murdering Buttercup for strategic purposes, and he does kill Westley in a fit of rage. You know what? Never mind. Maybe he does suck. But I wouldn't really call him the villain. Actually, I don't think this movie has a straight up villain. Except maybe Count Rugen, the right-hand man and six-fingered man of the prince. But he's really more of Inigo's adversary. Have I not mentioned the revenge plot yet? Because this backstory with Inigo and Count Rugen is actually my favorite part of the movie. But we don't find out that Rugen is the guy who killed Inigo's father until much later. This movie's plot is like twisting roads, kind of revealing themselves slowly, but surprisingly. For example, I really like how Inigo and Fezzik start off as adversaries to Westley, but by the end, all three of them are working together because the paths of the plot have converged. Westley needs to rescue Buttercup from Humperdinck, and Inigo needs to get Count Rugen. And of course, in order to do that,
they have to storm the castle! To the castle!
But again, I love how aware of itself this movie gets in certain moments. Like how Miracle Max, the first miracle guy they go to, just so happens to have a beef with Prince Humperdinck. And how Fezzik just literally pulls out the exact thing they need from under his shirt at just the right moment. I love it. But anyway, I was getting to the revenge part of the story. There's more than just Inigo's. I just mentioned Miracle Max. Well, he wants to get revenge on Humperdinck for firing him. Humperdinck wants to get his revenge against Gilder. Buttercup wants her revenge against the Dread Pirate Roberts. And of course, Inigo wants to kill Count Rugen. This movie is just chock full of revenge. I think the author is saying something about righting past wrongs. Like it's just something we're instinctively compelled to do. Like the universe has to balance itself out somehow. But of course, Inigo's is the most remembered. And I really love the moment when they finally confront each other, because it completely subverts expectations. You think there's going to be this stare down and fight, like in one of those spaghetti westerns? But the Count just runs away instead. And everybody just kind of pauses for a moment. Like, hey, it wasn't supposed to happen like that. Then the movie just hits the play button again and resumes. You think that Inigo's gonna catch the Count and then they'll duel. But no, the Count just suddenly stops and throws a dagger right into Inigo's stomach. And the editing and sound design of that moment is so good. It feels like we're getting stabbed in the gut too. And the Count says exactly what we'd be thinking.
You've been tracing me your whole life only to fail now. I think that's the worst thing I've ever heard.
No! It can't end like this! Penalty! Flag on the play! Movie, you cannot do this! Thankfully, the movie listens to us, and Inigo gets up and finally gets his revenge. Then Westley outwits Detective Prince Humperdinck and gets Buttercup back, and everything is put in its right place. The universe is once again balanced. But you know what? I really like the moment just after all that, when Westley hints at Inigo becoming the next Dread Pirate Roberts. Because, like Westley says, he's perfect for the job. Even though they don't address how Inigo is going to survive his multiple stab wounds, it does leave us with that little glimpse of hope that this motley crew of characters that we've come to love is going to be okay. Inigo will be the next captain of the pirate ship Revenge. Fezzik will be his first mate, and Westley and Buttercup will settle down back at the farm. Now, I wouldn't say that there's such a thing as a perfect movie, but this movie does get pretty close, and I think it's great that the movie has endured over all these years and become so beloved, but I do think it's a little bit to the movie's detriment at this point. It's like it's become too famous. I think movies like The Princess Bride need to stay just a little bit under the radar. The Princess Bride used to be under the radar, but now it's just everywhere. But that being said, I still love the movie, of course. Like I said at the beginning, this movie has just about everything you could want in a movie. And at the end, it leaves you smiling. Just like the grandson at the end. And like him, who's going to read the story again, will come back to the movie again. But still, there's just nothing quite like that first time you saw it. And that feeling it leaves to always live inside you. I'm Adam Lee. Thanks for watching.